What is up, guys? This is Eric from the Film Photography channel, and today we're going to look at the Minolta hi-matic 7S2. Okay, so the Minolta hi-matic 7S2 is a compact 35mm film camera, of course, made by Minolta, with a fixed 40mm 1.7 maximum aperture lens. The lens is the best part of this camera. It's a 6-element lens in 4 groups. It's multi-coated for color film, and I will tell you that this is one of the sharpest lenses I've ever used on any camera, regardless of what. Okay, so by far the highlight on this particular camera is the lens. This lens is a super high resolving lens, and I don't say that lightly. Okay, the contrast on the lens too is another highlight. It's not only super sharp, but it's got a really strong contrast. If you're using it with a high contrast film, you might seem like a bit much, but generally you get really nice results with it. Okay, so let's just look at it a little bit more. This is a it's a shutter priority camera. The shutter speeds range from, you have bulb, but like a lot of cameras, you don't have like a 1 second or half second. This one starts at 1/8 of a second, and it goes on up to 1/500. Now, like I said, it's a fixed lens design, so the lens doesn't remove. The shutter is super smooth. I mean, the shutter dial here has just enough weight to it, and it's nice and clicky. It's got a pretty large focusing tab right here. A very short throw. As you can see, it's not even a quarter turn to go from close up, which is around 3 feet, to infinity. Excellent bokeh from this bokeh, however you want to say it. It's really excellent because it's a fast 1.7 lens, and it's really good glass in there. So yeah, it renders out of focus subjects really well, or the background of your subject that would be out of focus. It renders it really well. It's pretty straightforward. It's a rangefinder camera with a decent sized viewfinder. It's actually a good sized viewfinder. I can actually even look through my glasses and see pretty much all of it. On the right side, you'll see your f-stops that the resulting f-stop from your selected shutter speed. Okay, so that's just pretty straightforward. And then there's a needle that'll that spans the width or the height of the f-stop. There's the rangefinder patch appears like in yellow. It's clear enough to see. It's without any problem. You can focus pretty easily, especially with the short throw in this big tab right here. It's really easy to focus. The rangefinder is not really well defined. It's like a blur, and I can see it's supposed to be rectangular shape based on this, but it just shows up like a yellow blur in the middle of the screen. But that being said, you can still see when stuff is ghosting, and you can see pretty easily when it's in proper focus. It's just kind of odd that it's not very well defined. Self timer for 10 seconds. Takes two I think they're LR32 batteries. Film rewind, all standard stuff in a film camera. In order to load it, and we'll go ahead and do that, you just pull up on the knob here. Now I'll mention that this camera does not have a battery check, which is another kind of standard thing that you would see in cameras of this day. But this one definitely does not have any kind of way of checking the battery. That being said, the batteries last for years. Everything's nice and clean in here. I mean, it's a very well made camera. Nice clean lines. A little unusual. This is a little bit of a prize here to get one with the black paint, because they normally come in silver. The typical silver top and bottom with the black leatherette. But yeah, I found this one several years ago. I've had it probably about at least 5 years, And so yeah, it's a little unusual to find a black paint one. I haven't priced it to see what it might be worth. And I don't recall exactly what I paid, but I think it's worth a lot more than what I paid for it. You know, there were some accessories that were available for this camera. One of them is the case, which was a beautifully finished, they used to nickname them never ready cases because they completely covered the camera. So you'd have to, you know, go through a lot if you wanted to take a picture really quickly, but they were good for protecting the camera, like if you're traveling or something like that. And this is a camera that a lot of people probably would take for, you know, on a vacation or what have you because of the compact size. And this camera is also just perfectly suited for street photography. I mean, you know, this is like the perfect form factor. It's unobtrusive. It's, you know, it's not getting a bunch of attention. You don't have some huge lens coming off of the front of it, and you're just kind of snapshotting away. It doesn't even have like a hump that you would see on an SLR. It's just a cool little camera. It looks great in black. The silver one looks nice, but when I saw this one, I had to get it because I've got several other compacts that are in silver, so I figured, hey, let's get something different this time around. Let's go ahead and load this puppy. It's not nothing out of the ordinary. I'll, you know, just throw your film there and span it across. Now the take-up spool here for the film, it has it's a little unusual. It has like an inner spool. It's got an outer and an inner spool, and the inner spool, I guess, just causes friction once you insert the film in there, which helps it grab the film easier. I mean, and it grabs it like right away. I mean, you see it did it on the first try. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, I think it's just as easy to put teeth on the spool, and that'll do the same thing. But yeah, we just confirm that the film is in there. Yeah, and you're good to go. Okay, so you're all loaded up and ready to go. In terms of using the camera, just the operation of the camera, again, it's a quick point and shoot. I actually do like, even though I'm experienced with these, I actually do like the shutter lockout that most cameras had that just kind of wouldn't let you take a under or overexposed photo. I think it's just appropriate with these type of cameras, and it's something that I kind of look for in them. But I mean, I generally don't take a picture that's way under or overexposed. But yeah, and I'll mention also that the viewfinder, the rangefinder, is, unless it's just this one, it's a little washed out. It's not really like contrasty, and as you look through there, you kind of have to, although it's a nice big, spacious viewfinder, you don't always see your f-stops that well. The f-stops that are on the right side of the screen, they don't show up that well. Sometimes especially in the bright daylight, you have to angle your eye like one way or the other, twist the camera around a little bit to really see the numbers. Like right now, I've got my video lights, pretty strong light from that side, so that's actually lighting up the numbers really good. But if I go over here away from the lights, then the numbers go pretty dim. So it just takes a little getting used to. But generally when you're, like, let's say you're outdoors, I throw this thing on 500, 1/500th of a second, and just let it do its thing. I mean, if you're trying to really find a particular f-stop that you're, like if you want to use 1.7 or something like that, or any particular f-stop, then you mess with your shutter speeds, of course. But when I'm in a given situation, if it's complete daylight, if it's indoor, I don't really keep messing around. I set the exposure and let the camera make any fine adjustments from there. Now, this lens, it does take filters. I want to say it's a 43mm filter, and it's got this CDS cell right here in the front. So when you put the filter over it, like say it's a polarizer or something like that, then the polarizing effect will take place, since the cell is like right there where the filter will be covering it. And I was looking at this earlier. I've had this camera, like I said, for a while, and I've never noticed this before, and I don't think I could possibly get this on proper video, but I'm gonna try. Okay, now if you look really closely at that cell, you see how it's kind of changing, like the black area there, like it's going almost completely black at 1/500, and it's completely it's going completely white at 1/500, and then almost completely black at 1/8 of a second. And I thought that was kind of odd. It's just like this, like a dot, a series of dots that just gets bigger as you rotate your shutter speed. But to me that looks like there's I think an opening. It looks like the way this works is like the opening gets bigger at the longer shutter speeds, which would make sense because it's letting more light in, and gets much smaller at the 1/500 at the top, the fastest shutter speed. Now, my guess, and I did some research, I couldn't find any information on this, but my guess is that I know that these older meters, if you saw my review of the Leica M3 with the Leica meter, it had a high and a low mode. And so what I'm thinking is happening is that it's letting less light in for like the low light mode, or I'm sorry, letting more light in, or making a bigger opening for the meter to read in the low light mode. And in order to prevent the meter from being overwhelmed in bright sunlight, it's offering a smaller hole as you twist into as you go into the 1/500. Okay, so the all white background there looks like it's representing like next to no hole at all, or just a tiny little hole, and the hole gets much bigger when you go to 1/8. So these older cells, I think when you hit them with really hard sunlight, they just kind of wash out and they go inaccurate. They lose their accuracy. So my guess is that that's what's happening here. If anybody out there knows this to be true, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know. Yeah, other than that, it's a nice camera, well finished. It's very nice fit and finish. Minolta and Leica were, I think they collaborated on the original Leica CL, so there's probably a little bit of Leica in this camera that might account for the great optics and the nice fit and finish. I've had it, like I said, 5 years, never had any problems out of it, and it's always been a great performer. I'm always really pleased with the photos that come out of this camera, the image quality. Okay, so anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. This is Eric at the Film Photography Channel.